All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to look at a truly game-changing piece of technology, Apple's M1 chip. But we're going to come at it from a really unusual angle, through the eyes of a happiness accountant.
It all starts with this idea, which, let's be honest, sounds like a total contradiction. An accountant who studies happiness? How do you possibly connect the world of cold, hard numbers with something as warm and fuzzy as well-being?
Well, that is exactly the world of Dr. Shay Saban. See, coming from finance, he argues that if you're only looking at spreadsheets, you're missing the bigger picture. His whole career is built on finding that connection point, where the data on a balance sheet actually ties into the real-world experience of human happiness.
So, how does this big idea actually play out? Dr. Saban points to a perfect, tangible example that you might have on your desk right now, the Apple M1 chip. He says it's not just a story about a faster computer. It's a story about a radical shift in thinking, a story about integration.
So let's start with the tech itself. To really get what makes the M1 so special, you first have to understand the way computers were built for decades. For the longest time, PCs were basically built like a Lego set, right? You had your CPU from Intel, your graphics card, the GPU from NVIDIA, RAM sticks from yet another company. And the big selling point was flexibility. You could pick and choose your parts, build a custom machine, and even swap stuff out later to upgrade it.
But Apple, looking at the world of iPhones and iPads, decided to go down a completely different road. They didn't want a collection of separate parts. They wanted one single, unified brain.
And this brings us to the core concept here, the system on a chip, or SoC. So, forget the Lego set. Imagine if you melted down all those essential pieces, the processor, the graphics, the memory, and forged them into a single, perfectly fused block. And right here, you can see the two philosophies just clash. The traditional PC world, built on that x86 architecture, is all about that flexibility and raw brute force power. The M1, on the other hand, which uses the same ARM architecture that's in your phone, throws that all out the window to focus obsessively on efficiency and total integration. Just two totally different ways of looking at what a computer should be.
But this brings up a huge question. How could Apple even afford to do this? I mean, developing a custom chip from scratch is incredibly expensive and super risky. The answer, maybe surprisingly, is the iPhone.
Think about it like this. For over a decade, Apple was making just massive profits from the iPhone. A huge chunk of that money got poured right back into developing the best mobile chips in the world, making them more powerful and way more efficient every single year. And eventually, these little mobile chips got so good, so powerful, that Apple had this light bulb moment. They were finally strong enough to run a full-blown laptop. And that's exactly what they did. So what's actually packed inside this unified system? Well, you've got your usual suspects. The CPU, the central processing unit, that's the main brain. The GPU handles all the graphics. But then you've got this other thing called the neural engine, a specialized part with 16 cores dedicated just to AI and machine learning tasks.
And this is a brilliant example of that focus on efficiency. Even the main CPU isn't just one thing, it's split. 4 of its cores are high-performance beasts for the heavy lifting, like video editing. But the other 4 are ultra-efficient cores, designed for simple stuff like checking your email. They just sip power instead of guzzling it. And the computer intelligently switches between them in the background, without you ever noticing a thing.
Now, this whole integrated, efficient design, it sounds amazing. But this is where Dr. Saban's thinking really shines. He argues that every great synthesis, every active integration like this, comes with a trade-off. You gain something really powerful, but you also have to give something up. Let's start with the good stuff, the payoff. And it is huge. Because the chip is so efficient, you get phenomenal battery life. It generates way less heat, which means some MacBooks don't even need a fan. They're completely silent. This also lets Apple make their laptops lighter and thinner. And since everything's on one chip, all the parts share memory way more efficiently.
But here's the catch. Dr. Saban has this great analogy for it. He says the M1 chip is like one of those layered licorice candies. It's all beautifully fused together, but you can't just pull one of the layers out.
And that's the price you pay. The biggest one, zero upgradability. The RAM, the storage, it's all soldered onto that chip for good. What you buy is what you have forever. If something breaks, repairs can be a lot more complicated and expensive. And because it's a totally different architecture, some niche software or games might not work. You are basically locked into Apple's perfectly integrated world. So let's pull all these threads together. We started with this idea of a happiness accountant, connecting numbers and feelings. And in the M1, we've just seen a chip that connects hardware, software, and even business strategy into one unified thing. What this really shows is that the M1 is more than just a piece of tech. It's the physical result of a philosophy. It shows what's possible when you stop thinking in terms of separate parts and start thinking in terms of a single unified system, where everything is designed to work together perfectly.
And this brings us right back to where we started. The genius of the M1 is that it builds a bridge. It connects the world of mobile efficiency with the world of desktop power. It's the exact same kind of thinking that lets an accountant connect the dots between a financial spreadsheet and human well-being.
It leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. Apple created a whole new kind of value by integrating its technology. So what new kinds of value could we create in our businesses or even in our own lives if we measured success not just by the numbers on a page, but by the happiness and well-being we generate? Something to chew on.